out tonight. Let's go. Anyway, let's get to these epic battles. Pocket versus Elam. Winner goes to the grand finals to face Wadaj. This is a best of 5. And we've got Trevenant against Charm 9 in the lead. This is a matchup, of course, that Trevenant should be able to win the 0s and the 1s. Ninetales can charm through and win the 2s. Pocket's going to throw here to make sure he gets a shield in return in this matchup. And here we go. Elam knows he can reach the Shadow Ball, so goes for it here. Pocket decides to go down a shield to get switch advantage and then gives up switch advantage. Luckily for Pocket, there is no hard punish to this Medicham remaining, so Pocket is going to ramp up here immediately with the Medicham and potentially force the final shield by threatening the Psychic. Are we going to see a bait from Pocket? A bait here could be pretty nasty. Surf, able to land. Pocket does go for the bait. Does Elam shield? He looks at Pocket for a sec. His demeanor. Shields at the last second, and it is the bait. But Elam is still going to be able to reach a Surf here because this is just a pup. And the pup is not going to be enough, obviously, to knock out the Lantern. This even allows Elam to overfarm slightly. Surf should just about KO. Maybe Medi hangs on by a sliver of health. Surf comes in. Medi barely hangs on. The next water gun KOs. In comes Charm 9. Really needs to get off the Weather Ball and actually swaps out to preserve a potential Weather Ball for later. I wasn't sure if Pocket actually stored it. He might have been one short still. And Galarian Stunfisk, of course, going to need 3 Rock Slides to knock out this Noctowl. Shadow Ball is going to start firing away. Needs at least 2 to knock out. 2 still might not be enough, as we see. Does a little bit less than half of the remaining health. Rock Slide coming through. Both trainers locked in. There is still a little chunk of health on that Water Gun Lantern. That is going to be difficult for Pocket to get rid of. Gonna need to fire the Weather Ball here. Unfortunately for Pocket, I don't think this is going to be quite enough to get rid of Stunfisk. I think Stunfisk still is going to reach the Rock Slide here and is going to knock out the Alolan Ninetales for a game number 1 win for Elam. Well played on both sides, and kind of like how Butters mentioned when we were listening to the casters, you see the level of seriousness and kind of increase between the battlers. The joking has let up a little bit, and they are locked in. Game number 2. Best of 5. Noctowl into Medicham. Positive lead for Elam. However, the Trevenant that's lurking in back could be trouble for Elam's backline. So Elam is going to have to preserve the Noctowl. And we actually see Pocket going for the Psychic. He doesn't have access to Ice Punch, and it does land. That is pretty big for Pocket here. Because if he can actually just get rid of this Noctowl, his Trevenant's going to put in a lot of work. Is Pocket willing to go down both shields? He is. He's going to go down both shields here. Medicham swaps in, lures out the Trev, but the Trev is down 2 shields to 0. So Elam can likely shield once and land double Ice Punch, only needing to spend one shield. Pocket likely going to go for a Seed Bomb bait here this way. Even if Elam shields, he's going to get off 2 Seed Bombs. Elam, with some discipline, doesn't actually throw immediately. Knows that Pocket has back-to-back, so goes for the extra counter instead. And then going to throw to not take any additional Shadow Claw damage. Small, little, minute plays like that can be very advanced. Medicham knocks out the Trev. In comes the opposing Medicham. Elam will reach the Psychic if Pocket doesn't throw. Pocket throws the power-up punch here. This might knock out Medi. I'm not exactly sure. It does knock out. In comes Lantern. And it is a Water Gun Lantern. I think if you're Elam, you have to consider shielding this. Lets it go. It's a boosted Psychic. And now suddenly, this becomes a bit uncomfortable. Catches the pup on his Noctowl. But does Lantern have enough health left in the tank to close this game out? Pocket electing to stay in, wants the boosted counter damage. And it's Bastiodon in the back. And unfortunately, you see the expression on Elam's face. He knows, despite this being a good matchup for the Lantern, Pocket has done too much damage. And Pocket with the devious laughing. Knows Bastiodon can tank it. Took a little bit of a look to the crowd. And that is 1-1. Pocket is just a living meme, dude. Look at his face. I didn't pause it fast enough. He's just a living meme. He's a living meme. Tied up 1-1. Elam looks kind of like a gym leader with his jacket. And he's got a tough lead to try and climb out of here. Safe swaps the G-Fisk and met by a Water Gun Lantern. This is not that bad as you may think for G-Fisk. Because if you're able to successfully Rock Slide bait, you're going to get to an Earthquake here. Which could spell trouble for Pocket. Pocket calls the Rock Slide bait immediately. Oh my goodness. Pocket nodding his head. Elam recognizing the nice call. Only going to get to one move, so might as well go for the Earthquake here. So Lantern's still very healthy. But at least Elam does get a shield advantage. Actually coming in with the Medicham. Interesting. We see a Surf coming through. And Elam's shield just unable to make the correct read so far. This is only a Surf, and Elam recognizes that. This game is not over, because now Elam should be able to counter all the way down and potentially can get a shield back from Pocket. Pocket not getting the Surf here is crucial for Elam potentially winning this game. Has the back-to-back Ice Punch. Will this draw a shield from Pocket? Will Pocket potentially catch on Ninetales? Does not. And this Ice Punch will put Trev low enough where we might see a Shadow Claw snipe here from Elam. Pocket anticipates it. But Trevenant can win this matchup. And Pocket actually calls the Seed Bomb bait. This is critical. Calls the Seed Bomb bait. I think you just have to go for fast moves here if you're Elam. You shield this because you need the Shadow Claw damage on the opposing Trevenant, but you're only going to get one Shadow Claw off, I believe. But now does one counter KO? One counter KOs the Trev. And what a crazy game that was. As Elam finds the win condition in the end. Oh my goodness, dude. Holy cow. Two to one lead for Elam. A trip to the grand finals on the line. For Elam, he's still looking for that travel award. For Pocket, he's pretty much just looking for legacy. First player to potentially win 2 regionals in the same season. Game number 4, Medicham into Lantern. We see this matchup all the time. Maybe not quite as much with the water gun variant. And this just looks like a very neutral kind of game, to be honest. Pocket correctly shields the Psychic here. Medicham punching away. Switch advantage will, of course, be important here. Elam lets the Surf go through. And Pocket actually electing to let Medi get to another Psychic before throwing his Surf. If you're Elam, do you take Switch? You do. Gonna go for a shield and a counter down. Pocket going to just allow the counter down. Comes in with the Charm Alolan Ninetales. And that makes this a little bit awkward. I like this play from Elam. Actually staying in to chip with the Rock Slide. And now if Pocket decides to take this, you can instant swap. And the Shadow Claws are going to really start piling up here for Elam. Pocket going for the bait. But this is a very safe shield for Elam. As long as he gets this Trevenant low enough, Galarian Stunfisk will be able to close things out against the Alolan Ninetales. And we actually see a CMP tie here. If you're Pocket, what the heck do you do? You are forced to let it go. Put it all on your Charm Alolan Ninetales. But Trevenant should reach a move here to force the final shield. And even with an energy head start, it's not going to matter, as the Galarian Stunfisk is still lurking in the back. And just like that, Mr. Elam is able to take down Pocket and move to the grand finals. What an incredible run from Hot Pocket with his devious Bastiodon team. But Elam prevails. And that sets up a grand finals between Mr. Wadaj and Elam. And let's hear what the two grand finalists have to say about this matchup.
With our 2 finalists here in Hartford, and I want to talk to you first, Wadaj, because you're coming in on the winner's side of the bracket. It's been a long season, though. You've gotten so close, but didn't quite qualify. Now you have qualified. Can you talk for a minute about your journey this season?
I mean, yeah, honestly, it's just like crazy to finally be here. Like throughout the entire season, like I've come up for, like especially in Toronto when I got 3rd, and just getting that was so heartbreaking. And to finally be here, it's like unreal. And like everyone like saying, "Oh, this is your event, this is your event," and it never was. And I thought it was just like I'm letting them down. I felt worse when I kept not qualifying, and everyone's saying you could. Now I can. I feel really good.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, right? Because I think I've spoken this before. When I talk to trainers behind the scenes, they have such high praise for you, Wadaj. I think you're one of the best trainers out there. And then you did get a little revenge against Magic Mason, right? Yeah. So I know that must have felt great. In Elam, you have competed before, you have qualified already, but you're back here. You know, it's a different meta to when you competed, right? Because House Stark, that was before the move update, and now you're back in this scenario. What is your mindset going into this tournament?
Well, first of all, I came into this tournament with some expectations. I wanted to practice first of all because I'm going to work, like I qualified for Worlds already. But I also wanted to go for that travel package. It's definitely like a very big difference between first and second place between those two. So yeah, that was basically my mindset. I wasn't playing, or I wasn't feeling like I was playing really well yesterday, but I just kept winning, so my expectations kind of kept going higher and higher. So yeah.
And to follow up on that, I mean, this is the most stacked North American regional we've had.
Yeah.
And so to make it to this point, and also, I feel like there's a key difference between the two teams left here. I think there was a lot of one-off picks in this top 16. You look at the usage chart, there's just a ton of Pokemon that just had one-ofs. You know, Shadow Charizard, Guzzlord, Zweilous. But in the end, it was kind of these meta teams that were so strong. What was your mindset in terms of team composition coming into the tournament?
Well, I just went with stuff that I felt comfortable with, hard meta, some will say. And yeah, it just seemed strong as against the stuff that other people were like running on different regionals, like Dyla, for example. He had the double water, and I felt like Medicham, even though it was neutral, it did pretty well against those. So I'm a Medicham supporter, if you mind.
And that is literally the difference between these two teams here, because you have 5 out of 6 the same Pokemon, but Wadaj is running the Obstagoon instead of Medicham. Not a Medicham supporter, but how much different is your team from early on in the tournament? How much have you adjusted your team composition throughout this season?
I mean, if there's one thing people know about me, it's how much I hate Trevenant. So like, I wanted to build my team as strong as possible against it. Obstagoon was like the last thing I added. It was between that and Medicham, obviously. I decided I wanted to be stronger versus Trevenant, so that's where it led me.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the Obstagoon definitely helped with being strong against Trevenant in that scenario, but we're about to get into these grand finals here. The travel package is on the line. I just want to ask if you have any final words. Do you have any shout outs that you want to give before we get into the battles, Elam?
I just want to shout out my friends and my brother that came here with me to support me. He doesn't really play much the game, but he does enjoy spectating, so he's been supporting me today. And yeah, my family in general.
That's awesome. And Wadaj, I know you got a little injury here, a little behind the scenes. He had some crutches, but he walked on over here, and he's playing through the pain. Do you have any shout-outs also, Wadaj? How are you feeling going to these grand finals?
I feel good. I just need to thank my best friends Frank and Aiden, Hot Pocket, for always being here with me. Like, we go to all these together. It makes it so much better. And of course, my dad and mom for always being here with me. It's just like, their support it's unmatched. I just appreciate them so much.
Yeah, now you'll all be going to Japan together, but it's time. It's time for the grand finals. So let's head on over to the casters. Take it away, Jim and Mark.
Alrighty. Time for the grand finals. By the way, what's up, Mitch? Midget Fury. Didn't get to talk to you very much, Midget Fury, but good seeing you this weekend. And yeah, Mountain Dugong, I heard as well it was a tennis injury to his knee. Someone said he thought he tore his meniscus. Hopefully it's nothing too major. As someone that's torn his ACL in the past playing basketball, the injuries are no fun. But here we go. Oops. Wadaj versus Elam in the grand finals. They have the same 6, the only difference being Wadaj has Obstagoon as his counter user, and Elam has Medicham, as Butters said in the pre-match interview. We've got 2 judges watching the action, making sure everything's all right. And if we do a little bit of like team analysis, I mean, it's the mirror team. I think the Lantern looks pretty strong for both, with Trevenant being really the only counter. And it's really going to be a lot of who gets alignment and who wins the neutral matchups. Game number 1. Wadaj leads Obstagoon into Medicham. Gonna try and fight his way out of this as we see the safe swap Alolan Ninetales, and Elam doesn't have a hard punish to the Alolan Ninetales, so this could be a bit of an out for Wadaj. Going for the Ice Punch bait and going to get the shield here. Notice how Wadaj actually threw before the Gleam, I believe, to make sure he made up for that 1-turn difference from swapping out. Bit of a high-level decision there. A lot of people probably would have just committed to getting to the Gleam and then baiting. We see a nice bait, actually. As a shield comes up, Weather Ball now coming through as Wadaj's Ninetales is nearly in Weather Ball range. Elam going to throw back-to-back here. Safer play rather than going for one Gleam. Knocks out the Alolan Ninetales and keeps switch advantage. And if you look at what's lurking in the back, there is a vicious Noctowl Trev matchup awaiting. And Wadaj seems to be in a pretty difficult position. Don't really see a way out of this for him, as Elam is going to build up to Gleam, go for the Weather Ball, has back-to-back. Once again, kind of just the safer play. If you land the Gleam, that's nice, but this way you can make sure you get off 2 moves. And this should nearly KO the Obstagoon. Might barely hang on here with a few HP. We see the swap, and Elam actually locks in his Medi, which is unfortunate, but it's not going to matter because even if Trev gets the farm down here, Noctowl's just not going to be bothered at all by Trevenant's energy. And we'll probably see Wadaj's reaction as soon as the Noctowl's revealed. Elam knew what was about to ensue, and Wadaj is actually going to stop tapping, knowing that Noctowl can just finish this off. The owl flaps away with his dapper hat and bow tie, and is going to take game number 1 in favor of Elam in this best-of-5 grand finals. Keep in mind, Elam, in order to become the Hartford champion, will have to not only win this best-of-5 to reset the bracket, but win another best-of-5. If Wadaj wins this best-of-5, because he has not lost in this tournament, he is your Hartford regional champion. We will fast forward a bit. Players seem to be locked in. Thank you to Boyd Madalena for the sub with Twitch Prime. I appreciate you. And here we go. We saw Lantern into A9. Elam swaps Medicham, and it's hard punished by the Trevenant. Wadaj, as most high-level players would be able to do, has been over-farming here perfectly and making sure to come out of this matchup with residual energy against his opponents. We see the Shadow Ball guaranteeing the knockout or the shield. Takes out the Medicham. Elam likely going to come in with Alolan Ninetales here, I would think. Probably going to have to shield once, respecting the Shadow Ball. Does correctly shield the Shadow Ball. Wadaj only going to get to 1 move, so Shadow Ball making a lot of sense. Now Wadaj is up a shield and has alignment, and it's going to be the role reversal in terms of the backline this game, with Elam having a Trevenant in the back. Dazzling Gleam gets shielded by the Lantern. Great shield. In comes Trev, in comes Noctowl, and the two have a laugh with the same backline as the first game, just reversed this time, and just such a dominant matchup for Noctowl. When these two get aligned against one another, the Noctowl trainer is usually going to win the game. And that is going to tie things up 1-1. Where the grand finals essentially now becomes a best-of-3. Both trainers thinking things over. All their matches in this tournament have led to being here, this stage. And we see the Alolan Ninetales mirror match, both of which are running Powder Snow. And this is just such a mind game, such a bait game. We see Elam not electing to throw right away, and Wadaj going for the Weather Ball bait. And Elam calling the Weather Ball bait in a bit of a nod of approval for Wadaj. He's going to go for the shield. Elam, goes straight for the Gleam, and now Wadaj probably has the upper hand since all that energy just got shielded. Weather Ball coming through. And once again is called by Elam. A little bit less risky this time. Second Weather Ball coming through. So Elam, I would presume, just going to take the shield advantage here. No. Going to shield up the Weather Ball to get off a second Dazzling Gleam. This will force the final Protect Shield from Wadaj. But Wadaj will keep switch advantage. And we see a hard swap into the Medicham. It's countered by the Trevenant. However, this game is not over. Because if you take a sneak peek at the back line, Elam has his own Trevenant, and Wadaj has a Lantern, which is bad news for Wadaj. However, that Alolan Ninetales is still lurking as well. Shadow Ball connects, knocks out the Medicham. Elam really no choice but to come in with his own Trev. Does Wadaj's Trev get to a threatening move here? Does it reach the Shadow Ball? It looks like it does. And Wadaj actually, or I should say Elam gets denied. So he's going to have to take one extra Shadow Claw here than he otherwise would have had to. Going for the Seed Bomb immediately is Elam. Wadaj's Alolan Ninetales should be able to hang on here. Do we see a catch? He tried to. He tried to, but is unable to catch. And then we're going to see a Powder Snow down, and Elam able to take game number 2. Or, sorry, if I said Elam, I meant Wadaj. Quick instant replay. Was that the game, or was that just a late swap? It doesn't appear that was lag. That was not lag if any of you watching thought that was the case. That was Elam expecting Wadaj, being a high-level player, to not throw immediately, but to wait a turn and then throw. So Elam actually waited a turn and then tried to catch, but Wadaj just threw instantly, which didn't allow Elam to catch. So no lag, no flag on the play. That is just two high-level trainers battling it out, and a 2-1 lead for Mr. Wadaj. Wadaj one game away from securing the Hartford Regional Championship. But can Elam force a Game 5? Here we go. Good lead for Wadaj. We see the Medi safe swap into the Galarian Stunfisk. And Wadaj doesn't have an obvious response to this Galarian Stunfisk, so forced to stay in for the time being. And this suddenly starts to become awkward if you're Wadaj, because you really like to have this Trevenant lined up against the Medicham. But now the switch clocks are heavily desynced. Does Wadaj consider shielding this Rock Slide? He does. Wants to maintain some health on the Trevenant. And is going to overfarm here, perhaps to nearly double Seed Bomb. It's a CMP tie. If you're Elam, you're actually going to shield this to force potentially the second shield from Wadaj, or land the Rock Slide, which will put Trevenant quite low. Wadaj willing to just take the Rock Slide on the chin. It doesn't quite knock out And he's going to be able to maybe Shadow Claw down. No, has to throw the Seed Bomb. So Wadaj is able to keep switch advantage. But now you no longer have the Trevenant alive for this Medicham. And this is a huge decision if you're Wadaj. What do you come in with here? And comes in with the Ninetales. And this is terrific for Elam. With the tree lurking in back for the Anglerfish, also known as Lantern. Psychic does get correctly shielded. And this is a big decision if you're Wadaj. Do you go for the Gleam? No, going for the bait. Does Elam call the bait? He does call the bait. But you do have the back-to-back Weather Ball. Elam still gonna now actually going to shield it. And this is just about Ice Punch range. Ninetales might hang on here, but the next counter would probably knock out. Does hang on, forced to swap Lantern. But there is a Trev in the back. We see a little bit of a fist bump. The twos connect eyes. And they realize this is heading to a Game 5. Trevenant can simply go for a couple of Seed Bombs here. Not threatened very much by this Lantern's energy. And Wadaj not going to elect to throw any moves to extend the game. Elam going to play it safe and double up on Seed Bomb. Not going to take any chances, as he has 2 loaded. And just does 1 Shadow Claw actually anyway to knock out the Ninetales. And here we are. Game 5. 1 win for Elam to reset the bracket. 1 win for Wadaj to become the champion. Some very high-level games so far, as you'd expect. And the 2 all come down to this. Obstagoon is the lead for the potential deciding game, and Elam safe swaps the Ninetales. Wadaj does not have an obvious answer for this Ninetales, and perhaps Elam was trying to lure something out here. Perhaps he's trying to lure out the Lantern, but there is no Lantern to be seen on this team from Wadaj. Wadaj going to put up a Protect Shield against the Ninetales. These 2 Pokemon should get to the next charge move at the same time, but neither of them throwing right away. Cross Chop coming through. This will threaten to knock out the Alolan Ninetales. Shield comes up. Cross Chop is going to be deflected away. Building up to the Gleam, going for double Weather Ball. Back to back. Wadaj's Obstagoon also has a move here, but not going to throw it. Going to go for the extra counter instead and farm down to maintain switch advantage. Now Elam is up a shield, but Wadaj has switch advantage. And will that be enough for him to beat this back line by keeping hard counter on hard counter? Has to let this Obstagoon get Water Gun down. You come in with the Trevenant. Has to be quick to swap. Is quick to swap. Noctowl only gets a 1 wing attack head start. And because of that quick reaction, Alolan Ninetales is going to be able to reach 2 Weather Balls here before going down. Wadaj building up, has the double Weather Ball. You saw the sigh, the reaction, realizing he's got this. And now he calms himself down for a second. Just needs to make sure he closes this out. Noctowl flapping away. Does Noctowl reach another Sky Attack here before going down? It does. This is going to knock out the Alolan Ninetales. However, Trevenant, against its nemesis Noctowl, is going to be able to Shadow Claw it down this time. Has the energy for the Lantern. We have seen Elam actually beat a Trevenant earlier in the day with his Lantern, but back then he had a ton of energy and now doesn't have quite as much to get to 2 moves. The seed bomb connects, and the second seed bomb is unleashed as Andrew, also known as Wadaj, after several attempts, is able to overcome the adversity and become the champion of the biggest North American regional Pokemon Go has ever seen. What a run, what a performance, and what a future ahead of this kid in the Pokemon Go PvP community. Unbelievable scenes. Let's see what he had to say as we fast forward a little bit to the post-match interview, which I believe was done by Mr. Speediest Chief himself.
All right, trainers, I'm here with your Hartford Regional Champion, Wadaj. I saw a standing ovation in the crowd. I want to challenge everybody to cheer one more time for our champion, Wadaj. Let's see it in the chats, in the Twitch chat, and the YouTube chat as well. Sound off. Wadaj, how in the world are you feeling?
I can't really tell you. It kind of sucked me in
Fix the mic production.
I already qualified.
There you
so
go.
Now it's just whoa, I'm champion. But qualification was what I cared about more. But champion, of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, like our co-caster said, you piloted your way all the way through the bracket, not dropping a single round. I wanted to ask you, because you've had one of the longer journeys, right? Been to multiple regional championships. How have you honed your team and your talents and your skills over each of these competitions?
I mean, this one, I put a lot of prep into. I was scrimming every night. Before EUIC, a lot of Europeans asked me to scrim. I did with all of them. I just put a lot of prep. I played the same team for 3 tourneys in a row, and it got me top cut a lot, but I couldn't get the final push. And I was really happy with this team, so let's just go with that.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a lot of unique choices, a lot of unique teams. You ran a very meta-centric team, right? A lot of the Pokemon that we've seen at the top of the usage charts. What separates you, in your mind, as a trainer who can run these Pokemon that a lot of trainers are using, but you're able to succeed at a very high level with them?
Meta's meta for a reason.
Yeah.
I liked Goon. It's kind of off meta just to beat Trev and G-Fisk. That was the basic spice. Like A9 Lantern. I used Charm before this instead of Powder Snow, and I think Powder Snow is just better now. But I had to use Charm with my last team. I've never used Lantern before. It's just so good. I'm just so happy I picked it up, and pretty much. I'm glad I dropped Medi.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, not a Metachamp
Not a
fan.
Medi.
That's all right. Well, Wadaj, we had a very emotional interview with Rise Occasion earlier in the season. I definitely put you two trainers on the same level. I think you're both incredibly talented, but you both have gone through several trials, right? Now, not to get too emotionally heavy, right? Because there'll be time for that later. But
on the
can
same
you
level
talk to
as
us
this
about
kid.
what it takes to keep a strong mindset when you get so close time and time again, and to keep on pushing forward?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. My mental has been broken time and time again after I keep losing.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps supporting me. It just means the world. I wouldn't be here without everyone.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that the community aspect is a huge part of that. Where we talk about the community today, we talk about all being together, and yeah, it looks good on social media and everything, and people really do post a lot of pictures that are really special. But I think that having people like Hot Pocket by your side, people that you really trust and you can talk to and that support you time and time again, are super important. How have your close friends supported you? Is it through scrims? Is it through kind of chats? Is it through, how do they do it?
Just always being there for me. Frank and Aiden, they're just they're more than I could ask for. They're just always here for me. I stay with them at every event. The friendship we've just built, as corny as it sounds, it's just I love them. They're my boys.
Exactly right. Well, Wadaj, I know you have time to celebrate tonight. You're definitely going to meet up with your friends and have a great time this evening.
I'm tearing up a little bit.
Any final thoughts, any final shout outs,
That's
anything
awesome.
you want to say to the world here as they look upon their Hartford Regional Champion?
Just so happy. I don't know what to say. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, everybody, it's been a thrill here in Hartford. Wadaj, very humble here, but he's got a bright, bright future ahead of him. Can't wait to see what you do next, my friend. That being said, I think we're going to toss to a short break and then wrap things up, so stay tuned.
Wow. In conclusion, amazing performance. What camera should I go to? Here? Amazing performance from Wadaj, guys. Really happy for him. I can relate a little bit, right? Milwaukee last year, I got pretty emotional in my I didn't get an interview for that one, but When I did my recap stream with you guys, I got pretty emotional. And then this year, I had a couple times where I just got so close. And I don't know, people made it sound like it was, I did like so many attempts, but it was really only 3 attempts. It wasn't that many. But like it was 3 attempts, and the first 2 like getting 3rd place and then getting 5th place, like getting so close and not qualifying for Worlds and then having to do it again is why it was tough. For Wadaj, man, he had both. He's been so close. He's been 3rd place. He's been 5th place like multiple times. And he's been to like, I think 8 regionals this season because he really wants it. And he finally broke through. And it's I said it actually like in my sorry, I'm getting I need a tissue. Not for crying, but for my nose. I'm stuffy. But I sorry, where was I going with that? I said in my Knoxville backstage interview, they asked a bunch of questions for like these packages they put together for previous winners, that like, is there anybody that I was like worried about facing or thought, or that I think was here and could win a future one? And I said, like, it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when Wadaj wins a regional. And today he finally broke through and did it. He's just so consistently good, and I'm happy for the kid. So pretty cool stuff. And I can also relate to him, like people telling you that like this is your regional, you got the next one, right? Like you appreciate the support as a player, but you're also like, it's not that easy. It worked out last year in Milwaukee for me because I ended up actually winning. But dude, the amount of people that were telling me like, you've got this, Rise, it's on your home turf, you're gonna win it for sure. Like, I'm like, that's not how this game works, bro. I don't know if there's much of a home field advantage in Pokemon Go, but it ended up happening. Whatever higher power allowed it to. So anyway, I don't mean to make it about. I don't mean to talk about my experience. I'm just kind of saying how I can relate to some of the things Wadaj was saying there, and really congrats to him for just an incredible performance. Elam, my teammate, 2nd place. Happy for him too. Hot Pocket, of course, so consistently good as well. And it's pretty cool. I feel like the North American representation we're going to have at Worlds. Last year, Axon was the top North American finisher at Worlds. He got top 8. I was tied for 9th, so I was the next highest finisher. Axon got 1 round further than me. And I feel like with all the great battlers we're sending to Worlds this year, North America, we'll have a great chance to have somebody potentially win the whole thing.